What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of K-Cards Baseball. Thanks for joining me tonight. Hopefully you all are doing wonderful out there. Tonight on the channel, we're going to be discussing the Paul Skenes Major League Debut patch card and all of the controversy around this particular card. We're going to do kind of a deep dive into all the information that we've had and try and figure out what is truth and what we have some questions about as far as the inconsistencies surrounding this card. This all stemmed because I did make a video a couple days ago of me opening up a box of 2024 Topps Chrome Update that I did find at a Target store that I happened to be at last week. It was a really good find because I haven't been able to find very much of that product on the store shelves lately, so to find a rogue box out there was actually kind of fun, to be honest with you. But while I was making that video, I happened to mention that the money that would be raised at auction from selling the Paul Skenes patch card was going to be going to the California Wildfire Relief Fund. As a result of that comment, several subscribers reached out to me mentioning that not all of the money would be going to the California Wildfire Relief Fund. The only money that would actually be going to the relief fund was actually the proceeds that Fanatics was going to be making as a result of the auction of this card. So their commission percentage for auctioning off the card of, I think, 20% would be going to the California Relief Fund. So if the card sells for $1.2 million, $1 million would be going to the kid that pulled the card, and the other $200,000 would be going to the California Wildfire Relief Fund. One subscriber that did put a comment to the video let me know of several of the controversial topics that are surrounding the pulling of this particular card. It was actually kind of an eye-opener after reading that particular comment, and it piqued my interest. So as a result, last night I did a fair amount of research, read several articles, watched a few videos, and kind of came up with my own thoughts as far as this particular card. I'll let you guys know up front that I'm not really a big conspiracy theory guy. I'm much more interested in the truth on any particular subject, as well as looking at things from a logical perspective. So that is what I tried to apply when I formed my opinions as far as this particular information and the pulling of this particular card. So let's take a look at what we know to be truth and what we think is logic. What you're looking at on your screen is actually the first page of a journal entry that the 11-year-old kid made. It looks like after the fact, after he pulled the card, and hard to say what the timing is as far as when he actually made this journal entry. But it is his personal account of all of the events that led up to him pulling this particular card. I'm not really going to go into each line by line of this particular journal entry. I will bring up a few questions that I have as far as this particular journal entry as we kind of look through it. It starts off by discussing why this particular kid wanted a hobby box of this product, letting us know that because of the players and the rookies that were in the set, he was very interested in it. Pretty logical to me. We were all interested in this particular product because of the players and the rookies that were in this particular set. He goes on to say that he started begging his mom for a hobby box for Christmas, and he was expecting his mom to buy a hobby box when she left work one day, but she forgot to, so they decided to wait until Black Friday because they thought that the prices were going to drop on Black Friday. He goes on to say that the price didn't drop on Black Friday, and that he was pretty upset about it. A hobby box at that time was selling for around $350, which is probably pretty accurate from what I can recall in the set. The second page says that his parents found a hobby box for $320. It doesn't talk about where that particular hobby box was found for $320, but it does say that his parents decided to go ahead and buy him that box of cards. We then fast forward to Christmas morning, and he talks about all of the events surrounding Christmas morning after he woke up. He says that he woke up at 6:30, and the first present that he actually opened was the hobby box of cards, and his brother got a big Lego set. He says that he decided to open up 3 packs of cards and he says they got some pretty cool cards. They decided to pass around some more presents, and he opened 2 more packs of cards, and on the second pack he opened is when he got the Paul Skenes redemption card. He obviously got really excited, told his dad that he pulled this Paul Skenes redemption card, and his dad was like, "No, you didn't," and then he showed him the card. On page 3 of the journal, it talks about all of the excitement that they obviously had after he actually pulled the card, and that they actually went to their grandparents' house and hung out with them and our aunts and uncles and aunties, and I am 11 years old, so pulling this card was a dream come true. This is actually a pretty cool journal entry by this kid. It was obviously written after the fact, and his best recollection as to the events that led up to him pulling this card on Christmas morning. However, I do have some pretty serious questions about it. Do I question whether or not he actually wrote the journal entry? No, I don't. I think that this is written by an 11-year-old kid. The writing is actually pretty good for an 11-year-old kid, but in just some of the wording and the way the phrases are put in the journal entry, he probably wrote it. However, it does look to me like he was probably coached through it or was helped in writing this particular journal entry after the fact, probably by his parents, because some of the words that he uses in here and the phrases that he used seem a little bit advanced for an 11-year-old. And to be quite honest, I don't know of a lot of 11-year-old kids these days that are actually sitting down and writing journal entries in pencil into a notebook. Most 11-year-olds these days are pretty adept at using computers and do everything via a computer, whether that is homework or writing essays or English papers or that type of thing. And that's what this looks like to me. It's kind of a English paper by an 11-year-old kid. I have no doubt, honestly, in the journal entry as far as the events that led up to him pulling the card, but it's a little bit too precise as far as the pricing around the box of cards, saying that the box was for sale for $200 when it first came out, which it actually was, and that by Black Friday the price was up to $350, which seems pretty logical to me, and that his parents found a hobby box for $320. Whether or not that is actually true, probably, I don't know if too many card shops were actually selling that hobby box for less than $400 around Black Friday, but it is possible that they probably found a pretty good deal at a card shop somewhere in the area. Not sure around that. I'm not going to question that particular circumstance around it. The other question I have around this journal entry is that it says up front that his parents let him know well before Christmas that they found the hobby box and went ahead and bought it for him. I don't know if too many parents would actually let their kids know before Christmas what they actually bought the kid for Christmas. From my perspective as a parent, when my kid was younger and he really wanted something for Christmas and I went ahead and got it for him, I would never ever tell him up front that he is getting a particular present for Christmas. You always want to see that Christmas morning surprise and the excitement on their face when they open up a present and see that they actually got something that they really wanted. So that is a bit of a question mark, but it's really not my place to judge whether or not the parents actually did let the kid know 3 weeks in advance what the kid was going to be getting for Christmas. If that's the way that they handled it, that's the way that they felt was the best way to do it. It's not my place one way or the other to say whether or not that is right or wrong, but just from a logical standpoint, it does raise a little bit of suspicion because I'm not exactly sure of too many parents that would actually do that. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think about that particular aspect of this story. Before we move on to the second part and more controversial part of the story, and quite frankly the more interesting part of the story, I do want to let you know that I do fully believe that this card was pulled by an 11-year-old kid in California. I do fully understand the parents' wishes to keep his identity private as well as the family's identity private. This is obviously a major news story, not only in the sports card and baseball card hobby, but it was also a national news story because of the spotlight that the Pittsburgh Pirates placed on this particular card by the bounty that they offered for this card. That really heightened things up to a significant level and really put a lot of spotlight on this particular card. So as a parent, I do completely understand the parents' wishes to keep the identity of this child private. I would probably do the same thing. It is a lot of responsibility and burden to bring to an 11-year-old kid, and quite frankly, not needed. And looking at the chain of events that occurred after this redemption card was pulled on Christmas morning, we don't actually know the date that Topps and Fanatics was notified that this redemption card was found by this 11-year-old kid. However, in doing some additional research, it does look like that they were notified somewhere around January 3rd. So from a logical standpoint, during those 9 days from the time that the redemption card that was actually found and the times that Topps was notified, I am sure the family met with several lawyers to kind of come up with the best strategy as far as ways to move forward with this redemption card. And I am sure that representatives of the family and of this 11-year-old kid were actually the ones that contacted Topps and Fanatics directly, letting them know that the redemption card was found and actually giving them the redemption code to validate the validity of the redemption card and the code. Looking at things from a logical standpoint, it would just simply make sense that after the redemption code was actually validated by Topps and Fanatics, I am sure that representatives from Topps and Fanatics were in touch with the representatives of the child and of the family to discuss the best way to move forward as far as processing the actual card. And I'm sure that this is the time that Fanatics negotiated the process of getting the card graded at PSA, as well as auctioning the card off on Fanatics Collect in March. I am also sure that at this time that they did discuss the denial of the Pittsburgh Pirates offer, because why would a kid or a family from Los Angeles care much about season tickets for 30 years with the Pittsburgh Pirates and actually using those season tickets? Maybe they could have accepted the offer and turned around and sold it for whatever the cash value of the Pittsburgh Pirates offer would be, but they can actually probably get more money based on the publicity around the card through auctioning the card off. I'm a little bit surprised that they are going through Fanatics Collect rather than through Golden, which is pretty much the auction house that handles most situations like this. But again, I'm sure that that was negotiated up front between the representatives of both parties to decide what is the best way to move forward from the perspective of both parties so that they can make things most logical on both parties' perspective. On your screen, you can see a quote from PSA regarding the grading of this card. And one question I have on here, it does say that the Paul Skenes Major League Debut Rookie Patch Card Auto 101 was pulled as a redemption, then fulfilled by Topps and delivered to its owner before coming to PSA. I actually highly doubt that that process actually happened, that the card was delivered from Topps to the 11-year-old kid that found the redemption card. That would not make any sense at all. What does actually make more sense logically is that rather than the card being delivered directly from Topps to the owner of the redemption card, is that the card was actually delivered directly from Topps and Fanatics to PSA directly and given the same day treatment, where the card was processed and sent through the PSA grading process on the same day, basically giving it a white glove treatment. Here's the major issue that I have with this whole situation, is that clearly Topps was notified that the redemption card was found in the early part of January, somewhere around January 3rd, and they waited basically until PSA had graded the card to notify the general public that the card was actually found on January 21st, a full 2.5, almost 3 weeks after they were initially notified that the card was found. So the major issue that I have with this whole situation is that basically 2.5 to 3 weeks lapsed from the time that Topps was notified that the redemption card was indeed found and validated to the time that they actually made the announcement to the public that the card was found. They basically waited till PSA was done grading the card before they notified the general public that the card was found, knowing full well that during that 2.5 to 3 week period is that the hobby boxes were still selling for around $800. Jumbo boxes were around $1,500, and mega boxes are selling for in that $125 to $130 range. So Fanatics and Topps made a significant amount of additional profit based on the fact that they did not let the general public know that the redemption card was actually found. So from my perspective, if I was a collector that went ahead and spent that kind of money on a hobby box after Topps knew that the redemption card was actually found, I would have a pretty serious problem with that. So I'm sure that there are thousands and thousands of collectors and hobbyists out there that are pretty angry at this point that Topps withheld that information for that length of time. However, from Topps and Fanatics standpoint, there is no obligation or legal obligation that they have to notify the general public as to when redemption cards are in fact redeemed on major pulls. So that, I think, is the loophole or the protection that Topps and Fanatics has in regards to being sued in this particular case. To me, there's always been a difference between what is right from a legal standpoint and what to me is logically right or the right thing to do for your business and from an integrity standpoint. That is the major concern that I have in this particular situation, and I think that this actually leaves a pretty significant black eye on the way that Topps and Fanatics conducts their business. So anyways, guys, I think that that is everything that I have in regards to this particular subject. So let me know down below what you think of this particular topic and the way that Topps and Fanatics handled this whole process and the way that things went down. One final note that I have in regards from a logical standpoint again, in regards to the actual journal entry, is that I am sure that during the negotiation between the representatives for both parties on the Topps and Fanatics standpoint and from the family standpoint, is that Fanatics probably asked the kid to write the journal entry and create that particular journal entry with the parents' help to cover their bases and to kind of romanticize the pulling of this card. So that to me makes the most sense. Whether or not, again, that actually happened, just from a logical standpoint, that is what to me makes the most sense. This is all pure speculation. I'm just trying to look at it from a logical standpoint in the way that I would handle this particular situation and the way that I think most logical thinking people would handle this particular situation based on the value of this card and based on the protection of the 11-year-old child in this particular case. So again, let me know down in the comment section below what you think about this particular topic and what you think about the way the Topps and Fanatics handled this situation. So that is all I got for you guys tonight. If you're not a current subscriber to the channel, please go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button below. I would greatly appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Be safe out there and happy collecting. We'll talk to you guys soon.